we have with us Mrs. Astha Gill. So, I had a session with her. We had a very basic mock session while we were discussing what all we'll cover. And I cannot put it in words the amount of insight we got about the aviation industry. And that's why I think it's extremely important for each one of us, especially students, to know from the person in the industry about their respective profession. And now that we have 20 years of experience, the panel member has 20 years of experience. So I'm sure there's so much of insight that she'll have to add. Mrs. Asta Gill, an accomplished trainer come educationist with 2 decades of professional experience. She is an aviation veteran who started her professional journey at a very young age. She started flying as a flight attendant. Many of you commonly know this job as air hostess, cabin crew. Mrs. Gill started working in a teenage. Her journey with the aviation industry has been quite exciting. While she was enjoying flying as an in-flight manager with the then best airline of India, Jet Airways, as you all know. She also ventured out training opportunities within the airline. As a trainer, she was able to serve various domains and trained professionals from almost all departments of the airline, be it pilots, managers, cabin crew, ground personnel, etc. She attained training accreditation from 3 different international platforms and held even more responsible positions like training manager and performance manager during a tenure with Jet Airways. The exposure of such varied domains gave her the golden opportunity to work for Directorate General of Civil Aviation, the Indian aviation regulatory body, as a cabin safety inspector. So inspection, audits, approvals is what became a part of her profile. And presently, she happens to be the only person empaneled as cabin safety subject matter expert with Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau of India. So that makes her a responsible aviation incident and accident investigator too. Mrs. Gill is justifying her entire professional journey by presently nurturing her learning gallery, famously known as Special Persona Learning Gallery. I believe her present role is not just a professional venture, it has much more to it. Let us know straight from the aviation veteran herself who is with us today to share her exciting professional journey. According to her, once a crew, forever a crew. So we need to unfold the mystery behind this as well. Thank you so much for being with us today. And before we begin with the session, we'll quickly give an introduction about what Meraki Career Counseling is and what are we really into. So Meraki Career Counseling is a venture, and I am Bhumika Fotela, the session moderator right now, founder of Meraki Career Counseling as well. I'm a career coach and counseling psychologist by qualification. We have mentored 5,000 plus students, conducted 150 plus workshops for schools and college students. Hi.
Hello, Bhumika. How are you?
Hello. All good, all good. So I deliberately got into having a session with her because I told her that the amount of things that you're going to tell us today, the amount of insight that you're going to give us today, is going to be so insightful that while we'll be into the session, I'll get so distracted. I won't be able to follow. So just be ready for the amount of insight that she has for all of you. And the beauty of the session is going to be that she's going to give a very personalized experience, a very real life experience. It's not something that she's read, it's something that she's experienced herself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, first and foremost, for having me here, and thank you for giving such a lovely introduction. I think it was the way you explained me. Very few people can do that. Probably my mom can do that. But you went on, and the way you described about the professional journey was amazing. So thank you for doing that, and I'm also pretty happy to know about Meraki counseling and especially the psychometric tests and all that you guys are doing. So congratulations, and I'm sure a lot of students are going to learn a lot and will be able to make good career choices for them.
Thank you so much.
Everyone out here, I'm glad that they are here and they are still passionate about aviation. In spite of knowing that the lockdown is going on, understanding that the metal birds cannot be kept on ground for very long is a feeling that everyone needs to have. And I'm happy that the numbers show that people still have that spirit in them and are really looking forward to become a part of this mesmerizing industry.
It definitely takes me to the question that what skill set and what qualification do you think are the must to have in this industry?
Okay, so I'll start with yeah, tell me, what was that?
In this career and in this industry.
Okay, industry would be a very broad term because when it comes to industry, there are so many job opportunities that we can't really talk about qualification. I would put it this way to answer that question, that whichever field that you are from, you can definitely find something for yourself in aviation. So that's one thing. However, if I talk about the operational team, so starting from a commercial pilot to a cabin crew to engineering, for a commercial pilot, you need to have PCM and 12. Okay, so that's one thing for sure. Then you can, of course, commercial pilot has a different procedure. So once you've done science and 12, you can you have to appear for medicals. So it's class 2 and class 1 medical. And then you have to appear for written exams, and flying school is one of the toughest choices that candidates have to make. Of course, this is something that holds a lot of investment. It could vary between 75 lakhs to 1 CR. So that's the kind of investment that is expected today for a candidate who's looking forward to become a commercial pilot. Because you have to have flying hours, which are again very expensive because of, thanks to the fuel prices. Every single flying hour will cost you around 12,000 rupees or something, and approximately 200 flying hours is what you need to have in your kitty. And plus the written exams, you're paying for those, then medicals, license conversion. So there are a lot of things when it comes to a commercial pilot. I'm not saying that this kind of investment cannot be done by an average man. What I'm trying to say is that you can choose other opportunities. You can start with something else. You can enter the aviation industry, and then you can venture out. Then you can start preparing yourself for a commercial pilot. That's another option, tried and tested, worked in our favor, and I think that has been pretty helpful. Not only for from my personal experience, but I've also suggested this to other people, and it has worked very well for them as well.
Right.
And yes. So as far as basic qualification for a flight attendant is concerned, you need to be 12th pass out, and you must have the minimum height requirement. So if people in the webinar want to make a note of it, your minimum height requirement is 155 centimeters for a female, 170 centimeters for a male candidate. Now, reason is not that you want to look good with that kind of height, but the purpose is that you are going to perform certain safety duties in which your arm reach is required. So this is what is the minimum required in case of height. When it comes to the face value, the airline would not expect any visible or very prominent cuts or scars. Rest is okay with them. And also some visible tattoos again. So if you want to ink yourself, you need to be very, very careful. I warn you, don't ink yourself, because that can go, it can create trouble if you want to join the aviation industry. So that's another. So visible tattoos become an issue for candidates. So this was the basic criteria when it comes to a flight attendant's profile. But there is also an advanced criteria which is applicable to almost every profile of the aviation industry. And that's about the right attitude to perform duties. This is an industry where if the industry is giving you a lot, same is expected from you. So you need to be humble. You need to have good emotional intelligence. You need to be socially intelligent. And your curiosity quotient is also very important, because the more you want to know about the industry, you will be able to adjust in the industry. It has a multicultural environment, beautiful environment. You're going to love it, but you need to be ready to accept it. So if you are someone who is an introvert and just refuses to talk to people, then you might find difficulty in becoming a part of this industry. So you have to be open to accept a multicultural environment. You have to be very good as far as your communication skills are concerned. That's another very important point. Because you have to converse all the time. So you have to be very good when it comes to English fluency. And why I'm specifically mentioning this is, Bhumika, because there are a lot of people, like I have my YouTube channel and I make videos and sessions and tutorials for candidates who want to associate themselves to this industry. But when I see candidates also watching certain videos where it is said that कोई भी join कर सकता है industry and आपको tension लेने की जरूरत नहीं है, कोई भी crew बन सकता है. That's where the candidates misunderstand the actual requirements of the industry. So कोई भी बन सकता है, but conditions apply. So you need to have that kind of profile which the airline requires.
Right. I'm definitely sure. I think yesterday also, since we had this webinar on entrepreneurship, and we were discussing certain tips like how you need to become adaptable, how you need to understand that there will be very, very random and very, very quick changes in the industry. So we need to be a little adaptable to all of that. And I'm sure certain skills are always there for each industry. And in the aviation industry, especially, yes, the physical aspect of it, the physical fitness bit of it is what also we're going to talk about. But besides that, there's certain kind of personality, certain kind of aura. Like because it's a service industry, at the end of the day, you're also dealing with people in a lot of areas unless you're completely in the back-end technical area. You're 100% dealing with people. So
Yes.
You cannot be moody all the time. You cannot, in fact, you cannot be moody. You cannot snap on people altogether. So yes, you have to be assertive, but there's certain sort of communication skills, there's certain sort of aura, there's certain sort of personality grooming, which I'm sure ma'am also offers a lot of these services via her venture. So if you would be able to also lay an emphasis on that, again, we have a question for you. All right. Before that, can we take up this question? How do you use to keep your fitness levels in check, and how important was it to keep a tap on fitness? Because all the students out there, rather most of us, in fact, only one of them that I know right here is preparing for NDA, and him I know that he's taking a complete check of the physical fitness. Right? Otherwise, most of us are like couch potatoes. सुबह 6 बजे सोते हैं मैम, हम देखो उठते हैं 3 बजे, ठीक है, और उसके बाद मैम हमारा ब्रेकफास्ट 3 बजे ही होता है, एंड देन वी डोंट नो, वी जस्ट लूज आउट ऑन कंप्लीट पैटर्न एंड कंप्लीट रूटीन. एंड एक्सरसाइज का देखो कोई वो नहीं होता हमारे रूटीन में, एक्सरसाइज का देयर इज नो नामो निशान, राइट? सो व्हाट इज योर tips on that, irrespective of the fact that I'm joining somebody is laughing, yeah, which means I'm right now. So irrespective of the fact I'm going into commercial flying, people, you know that you have to take 2 major exams, which is DGCA 2, DGCA 1, to ensure that you're clearing that medical certification, that medical fitness exam. Unless you do that, you cannot go ahead. And then especially even in flying options, flying careers, fitness is something which is very, very important. So could you please give all of us an insight on that bit?
Okay, so Bhumika, I think when it comes to medical fitness, that's the best part about this industry. And unfortunately, a lot of people think that flying se health kharab hoti hai. So a lot of people don't join the industry because they think that it is not the right industry. I'm going to ruin my health if I become a part of the aviation industry, because working in a pressurized cabin is going to ruin my health and blah blah blah. So I would definitely like to give this good news to everyone out here that even if you are a couch potato, don't worry. Once you become a part of this industry, they won't let you become a couch potato. Oh, yeah. And if your body clock is not the way it should be, amazing, because when it comes to body clock, it goes for a toss when you are associated to the aviation industry, because you're going to do graveyard shifts, you're going to be doing red-eye flights, you're going to wake up at midnight, you will be having a biryani at 4 in the morning. You'll be doing all of that, trust me, and it's going to be adventurous, and it's going to be great fun. So when you are on an aircraft, 15 hours flight, and you suddenly kuch nahi hai karne ko, chalo kuch kha lete hain, and you start munching on something that's available, which you've never even tried before. So you probably mix up a few things, whatever is available, and you just have it. So sometimes our meals used to get very exotic. So as far as fitness levels are concerned, if you think that we have to starve, no, that's incorrect. But it keeps us on our toes. If I talk from a flight attendant's perspective or a ground person's perspective, this profession keeps us on our toes, and we walk for kilometers, I think, when it comes to an aircraft or when we are walking at the airport or whatever. So yes, people who are fond of gymming do that. I've never done that all my life. I've never done that. But I feel that every time I could clear my medical, because this is a profession which keeps you very active. As far as pilots are concerned, yes, their medicals are stringent in comparison to cabin crew. Okay, so cabin crew also has medicals, by the way. Huh? So we have initial medicals, we have them every year. When it comes to pilots, they also have medicals, frequent medicals, and very strict medicals. So, and yes, they have a sitting job. So that's where it becomes a little challenging for them. So they could probably come out of the cockpit one by one and stretch their legs and everything. That little bit they can do. But yes, they have to make sure that they go on a jog or they go for a walk, and they take a little precaution when it comes to the kind of food that they are eating, all of that. So, and because our medicals take place, we have to make sure that we are fit. So you would find a pilot taking care of the sweet content, sweet intake. He would be taking care of the junk food intake when his medicals are closed. So, and that detoxicates his body and helps him do good. So it's like a blessing in disguise. You don't even get to know that you've actually detoxicated your body because of your professional requirements. So in a way, I think when I compare myself to the other aviation friends, sorry, not the aviation friends, the other friends who are not in the aviation industry, I feel that our fitness levels, thankfully, are much better because of the industry that I belong to.
Right. Even though I'll be taking all of the questions, but one of the students is asking, student Ghazal, you're asking that can alcohol be an interruption in the medical test? I'm sure. I think alcohol तो नहीं जाना चाहिए उसी समय.
Medical test पीके जाओगे तो definitely पकड़े जाओगे. So you can't drink and go for your medical test.
In fact, medical test से पहले नहीं लेना गजल. बाकी अब मैं नहीं बोलूँगी. बाकी I'm sure on a serious note, before the medical test, the consumption is not fine. Probably.
Yes. So see, as a cabin crew, as a flight attendant, as a pilot, especially this operational staff, we have a breath analyzer test before every flight. It's a mandate. And after the international flights, a mandatory breath analyzer test. So when you land back, again, you would have a breath analyzer test. So you don't even have a scope of drinking on board discreetly. So you are at a very, very responsible position. So you can't take a chance. As far as medicals are concerned, when you go for a medical test, for example, your initial qualifying medical test, of course, you don't need to be drunk. If you're drunk, your blood tests will show that there is alcohol. So as the operational team, we are given guidelines. And those guidelines are that you have to be away from alcohol at least 14 hours, 15 hours prior to your flight. Right. So if you've had a drink, you cannot fly, say, after 3 hours. If you're assigned a flight, you have to refuse for that duty.
Of course. That makes sense, because that's a huge responsibility that you have in hand right now. So as you're also asking, Ghazal, people are laughing at this question. Okay, Ghazal, so yes, occasionally I think that won't be an issue, but as ma'am said that there is a stipulated time period before which you cannot consume. That's one thing that will need to be taken care of.
And these will be the guidelines that are taught to them once they join the airline, because these are regulations. Like when I was with DGCA, these were the kind of regulations that we made for the people who are flying. And yes, and we had to make sure that the airline is ensuring that everyone is doing the breath analyzer, and there is serious punishment of this, by the way. So if someone is caught, it's not like a traffic police doing a challan. It takes away your job straight. So if you're caught in a breath analyzer, you will be suspended without any questions. And you can't say that, no, I wasn't drunk, and the report is false, and blah, blah, blah. So they do a breathalyzer test. They give you a gap of 15 minutes. You try all the totka that you want to, and then you come back again. You have coffee, you vomit, whatever you want to do. But after 15 minutes, they do it again, and if you're caught, thank you for flying. You do not get the opportunity to fly.
People, it's not like road driving that you end up doing in Delhi NCR and the police. It's not, they're not the thulas where you do like, please, कि आप जानती नहीं है मैं किसका बेटा हूँ किसका बेटा ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. Your vaccine will be taken away because it's a huge responsibility that you're going for.
Yes. So जिसका भी बेटे हो आप fly नहीं कर सकते उसके बाद.
Yes. And one more thing that I wanted to ask you that since yes, as you mentioned so many things about physical fitness and everything, आपको क्या लगता है like how did you back in that time used to keep a check on your own physical fitness since you never went to the gym? So आप कैसे manage करते थे? What all did you used to do to keep yourself in check?
Okay, so I tell you a secret. I wasn't really, I wasn't really into exercising as such. But like I told you, of course, limiting what I was eating was important. So not starving, but making sure that I don't, jump into the pool of gulab jamuns available on board, and all those lovely pastries that were uplifted by Taj Catering, and all of that is something that we had to have a control on. But like I told you, since we were always on our toes, a lot of things that we ate were taken care of. And a lot of people also opt not to eat on board because the aircraft food is not as healthy an option as compared to home food. So we also started carrying our own food from home because, of course, due to the kind of meal that is uplifted on board, it has preservatives, it has the kind of content which is not healthy to be consumed every day. So that was one thing that we used to do, and we also used to pick some healthy options. So instead of having, a pastry, like I said, we could probably choose cornflakes or something else which is a healthier option as compared to the other ones for which you would always get a strong craving. Definitely. So that was one thing. Also, Bhumika, as you're aware, I'm a mother of two. So when I went on maternity leave, I had put on a lot of weight. So both maternity leaves, I have two daughters, and both the times I had put on a lot of weight. And I could have never shed that weight if my airline would have not pressurized me to do so. So thankfully, when the airline said that, okay, ma'am, if you want to come back and fly, you make sure that you're fit and fine and you are in your BMI. So that's when, of course, it became important for me to follow a fitness regime, to make sure that I'm eating the right things, and I'm back in shape to fly as a cabin crew. So I think that the pressure that the airline had put on me was amazing. And they do that with every person, every lady who goes on maternity leave. Only then we are able to fit back in the uniform that is given to us. Otherwise, we would be of course, you can easily, I probably would have not fit into the screen with the kind of weight that I had put on.
Okay. So people who have issues with the weight concern and everything, I'm sure that one, industry would help you to do so, and a bit of it if you're 100% sure that this is what I'm aspiring for. And certain, especially for the medical check and everything, we can always keep a tap on our own physical fitness bit.
Yes. When I changed my department, I became such a restless soul. I wasn't used to sitting on a seat. And so it was actually very difficult to sit in front of a computer and work, because when you're used to running around in the cabin or running around at the airport, it is very difficult to actually sit and work. And hats off to the people that I see, they're sitting for like 8 hours and working on a computer. I think it's crazy. So like I told you, this is one thing that keeps you fit as well.
Right. And so technically, जिन लोगों का लॉकडाउन की वजह से रूटीन खराब हो गया, you guys are pretty lucky, because as ma'am rightly said, कि वहाँ पे भी you will have this routine where you have to adapt to a certain kind of routine. Of course, it's not structured. You will have to take flights. जो 2 बजे भी टेक ऑफ कर रहे हैं, 4 बजे भी टेक ऑफ कर रहे हैं, वापस आ रहे हैं, probably you have to come back on the same day as well. So
That's the beauty. That's the
yeah.
beauty of this profession. No routine. You're not aware of what's going to happen the next day. You plan a party, and that's for sure going to be missed. So that's the most amazing part of this profession, because you would enjoy a holiday when everyone else is working, and so it's not about the Sunday struggle to in a mall. You would get any day off, and it's not about getting a public holiday. You choose your own holidays, so that's there. And I think that's this uncertainty is what you love about the profession. You'll actually love it.
So people who are into really, going for adventure, or certainly have or are willing to get a proper adrenaline rush in the career, I think one area which is aviation is definitely a must try in that sense, because that's continuously.
मेरा बस चले ना भूमिका. I feel that everyone should start as a flight attendant. एक साल काम करो. The kind of learning that you get in this profession, the kind of skills that you attain, and all that, the kind of emotional intelligence, the patience, and everything that you learn here is going to be useful throughout your life. So wherever you go, you will always remember those days when you were flying with the airline.
Yeah. And so imagine, despite the fact you don't come from a typical medical background, yet you manage so many heart attack cases, which is just very important to skill that has come in you, or something as simple as managing a lot of people out there, ensuring that everybody is doing fine. So it is not just on a level of you running on toes physically here and there, but also too much of emotional EQ balance, I'm sure, is needed in this industry.
Yes, and when these, medical was something that I always took pride in. So the airline taught us, of course, a lot of things, but I think the medical part was the best part, because it's a life skill that you can use forever, and it brings in an understanding that when it's about life and death, you hold. If you are a spectator, if you are the one who's going to handle the case, you are responsible for that person's life, and it teaches you a lot. So when our training started, we were very scared about things like handling a childbirth. Wow, an 18-year-old thinking of actually handling a childbirth if it happens on board was something quite surprising, and we were very scared to do that. But the way we were taught those things and those lessons, I think they were amazing. And no crew can compromise on the kind of training that an airline teaches. We have regular briefings, be it pilots, cabin crew. The operational staff has regular briefings on every flight. We have to make sure that we are up to date with the latest medical, the ways how we handle the patients on board, how we have to handle firefighting or any other situation that happens on board. So that's there. So you keep updating yourself, and you have to be very good with it.
Right. I think, ma'am, we quickly start taking everybody's question, so that towards the end, because we certainly still have questions revolving around work-life balance, this, that. But I'm sure since it's so subjective, we can keep talking about it the entire day. So let's firstly quickly take their questions, and then whatever time we'll be left with, then we'll go back to our own generic questions. So the first question is, what are the options, ma'am, after opting humanities? So if this person has humanities, so what all they can do in this industry?
Okay, so flight attendant is one thing for sure that you can look forward to. And if you are doing a specialization when it comes to humanities, then there are other options available as well. So with humanities, if you are targeting psychology or any other subject which can be adjusted in this field, then you can definitely look up to it. With humanities, of course, we also have many other options like we were discussing about public relations and all of that, customer service, and all of that can also be there.
Right. This was the question that we had sent in the form. So we asked all of you to fill in the form where you can ask a question from the panel member. That's what I'm picking up. Assuming I'm from general category, good at physics, are there any scholarships, number one, or are education loans are the only thing? Aviation was always a dream for me, but as of now, I think it's better to have a backup degree like BTech. Of course, I love physics and maths, and then continue following my dream afterwards. Try to filter my question as much as I could, would be waiting for a reply. Yes, this is the question.
Okay. So when it comes to a science student, you have opportunities like I just discussed initially in the webinar that you can take up commercial pilot, you can even get into aeronautical engineering. So all of that you can do. If you have thought of completing your BTech first, excellent, you can go ahead and do that. And you can then look for opportunities in the aviation industry. However, if you're looking for any scholarships, I'm afraid there's nothing of that sort because we belong to the general category. So yes, there are certain government colleges which provide reservations, but otherwise you wouldn't have the option to look out for any scholarships. Loans are available, but unfortunately no scholarships when it comes to aviation.
Right. And does the place from where you complete your flying school affect your career in the future? Is there any advantage if we go abroad for completing flight school?
Yes, in fact, see, we have flying schools in India, but my personal experience is that when it comes to flying schools in India, because of the kind of weather conditions that we have, flying generally gets delayed. So, if you can afford going abroad, see, afford means that if you can take leave, you can go abroad and you can pursue your flying there, you'll be able to finish it in a stipulated time period. And then you can come back and you can get that license converted to an Indian license, which will be sent to the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. It might take some time. And this is a general pattern followed by a lot of candidates. So they go abroad, they complete their flying there. So flying, practical flying is what I'm talking about. And they come back and they clear their written exams as well. They get their license converted and then they get their commercial pilot license, which is applicable to fly in India.
Right, right.
So I think your question was also about the genuineness.
Done. So yes, even in India, have also like IGRUA, Chines. These are certain institutes which are really good. But yes, I think the span that takes, the amount of time that takes, can get difficult. I've heard like even in IGRUA lately, a lot of people have not even gotten their training hours completed. It gets very delayed. So that's what I've heard. Yeah.
So yes, so uncertainty could be there. So that is one of the reasons why people generally go abroad and complete their flying out there. And but you also have to look out for the kind of flying school that you are enrolling yourself. So that's one thing that you need to be very, very careful about, because if you are not going and you're not investing in the right flying school, you might not get authentic flying hours. And when you come back, your license would not hold that kind of value that is required. So if that flying school, for example, is blacklisted by the Indian regulatory body, then that entire flying is wasted. And this has happened with a few people. So you need to be very, very careful about the kind of flying school that you are enrolling yourself in.
Right.
So on this, of course, some candidates might think that it is a better idea to stick to India and the Indian flying schools. But yes, then it comes to time. So time is investment that you need to be careful about.
Right. So, ma'am, I've also heard, like, for example, not a lot of people would be ready to invest in the beginning. As ma'am rightly mentioned, if that's the scenario, you can always enter the aviation industry, earn for yourself enough, and then start investing in the flying and the training process.
A lot of people have done that. A lot of people.
And the other way out is also an NDA route where you are going to simply Air Force. Via there, you can also come into commercial flying later. Is that also one of the cases?
Yes, people do that. They generally retire and they come and join commercial flying, because once you are a part of Air Force, or you are flying for the defense, then definitely you would not like to join commercial flying till the time you've completed your tenure there. So that's at a very later stage. Generally, people that's not the route that people generally follow. So if you want to get into commercial flying, or you want to associate yourself to the commercial airlines, then direct option is what I would suggest.
Makes sense. So Prachi has asked this question. Usually, career span of cabin crew is slightly less compared to the other industry. So does this become a reason for people to avoiding this career?
Okay, so Prachi, who has asked this question?
Prachi, Prachi.
Okay, so Prachi, that's one question not only coming from you, I think that's in the mind of thousands of candidates. I'm a live example sitting in front of you. I've flew for 15 years. I have, and of course, then I left flying and I was also doing other things. But I still have colleagues who are flying. They're flying, they have children, they're married. When it comes to work-life balance, it's excellent if you're flying. You get amazing maternity leave when you're flying. You get amazing medical benefits. And so all of that is taken care of. So when it comes to the span of this career, it is, I think it's misunderstood. You can continue flying for as long as you wish to, provided you're medically fit, and also depending on the airline that you're working for. Like presently, the airlines are so new that they haven't really decided on the retirement age of cabin crew, because when it comes to the retirement age, people have to cross 45. That was something that they had said. Like Jet Airways had said that they want to retire the cabin crew at the age of 45. The other airlines are pretty new, so they are still continuing with people. Air India, the retirement age is 58 for a cabin crew. So all the national carriers generally keep 58 or 60 as their retirement age. So as far as continuing with this profession is concerned, you can do that for as long as you wish to.
Right, right, right. And as you also rightly mentioned, that because cabin crew as a career gives you so many skills, and in terms of personality grooming, this that even after a point of time you feel like that, okay, let's venture into something else. The amount of training and the amount of learning that you've done in cabin crew, you would always help you throughout your lifetime, as ma'am is also into training and education right now. So I'm sure there's so much of skill set that she's carried from that profession that are really helping her right now.
Like Bhumika, we were talking about people wandering and not really aware of where to go and how to look for opportunities in aviation. I think that was the drive that forced me to start Special Persona, because I saw a lot of candidates going to academies. I don't want to name. I think it's pretty obvious with the kind of trainings that most of the academies are offering. So it was important that we have the kind of training which can help them get into the airline. So training them on skills which are required by the airline. Here we just need a 12th qualification as far as education is concerned. And we need certain skill set for which the candidates have to be prepared for. We don't have to teach them firefighting, hijack, and all those other procedures which many other academies are doing and are minting money. So we need to prepare candidates for interviews, and that's what we do in Special Persona. So our target is to prepare the candidate in the shortest possible time. It could be 1 month, it could be a week, it could be 2 months, and a maximum of 6 months for someone who has major English fluency issue. And I think that's enough for someone to get ready for the kind of opportunities that we are looking for in aviation.
Right. So, ma'am, what kind of students can come to you? Where all exactly we'd be able to cater to, and what kind of students can actually come to you and visit you?
Okay, so Special Persona is taking care of varied trainings. So it's not only from the aviation perspective, but we also prepare candidates for other interview skills. But sticking to the aviation industry, I would say that the aviation, we prepare candidates for ground personnel, we prepare them for cabin crew, and on interview skills, on their basic grooming, how they have to present themselves, their body language, and their professional etiquette. So all of that is what we prepare the candidates for. And so that's one thing that we take care of. Besides this, candidates in Special Persona come from different backgrounds. So I have taken care of BTech students, BBA, BCA, you name a category. We've had students from there who eventually decided to join aviation industry. And unfortunately, employment issues in India have always been troublesome. So candidates from different fields with that kind of qualification choose to become a flight attendant and then venture out the other options available in the aviation industry. And I think that's quite a wise decision, because at least get into the industry, and then you look out for the options available.
Right, right. So as one of the questions that was asked in the form as well, which rightly asks that, okay, what if the investment cannot be done right now, and if you're someone especially very good with physics, maths, and everything, so definitely keep your backup options. Start venturing from your backup option, and once you have enough investment to put in the flying bit, you come back, put it in the flying bit, and then go ahead. Also, I mean that option is never closing down for you, is what I'm understanding from her.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So what exactly is the option, especially if you are a pilot? If fitness is altered later in life, maybe you have to stop flying, or the company offers other jobs for the person. Maybe what I'm understanding is कि अगर आपका fitness alter हो जाता, I mean
Yes,
fitness
I've
alter,
understood that question. Medical is one thing that definitely is doubtful. So his question is pretty valid. So what he wants to understand is that what will I do if my fitness levels are not as per the requirement? So this could happen in any profession where those particular requirements are there. For example, even if you're working for the defense forces, your fitness levels have to be excellent. Similarly, in commercial flying, your fitness levels have to be great. Yeah, so if that is compromised at any stage, the airline is going to put you on a temporary medical leave. They will be paying you. So there is an insurance given to the pilot, and the pilot is paid till the time he comes back to those fitness levels. However, if it is severe, if it is something that can never bring him back to flying, then it totally depends on his qualification, so he can venture out other things also. I'm aware of certain pilots taking up simulator instructor flying, which means that you are not actually flying the aircraft, but you are an instructor for simulation flying, wherein you are teaching the other pilots with your knowledge, and you are a trainer pilot. So you are not playing with anyone's life because of your fitness levels, but you're teaching flying to the pilots, and this is an option that is available. So somebody could choose that. And otherwise, if you are, for example, a graduate in some other field, then you can also look out for other opportunities available within the airline. So yes, that risk is there, but if you're qualified otherwise, you wouldn't have.
right. And what if what happens if we do not pass the first grade medical test?
Then you can't choose the industry. So class two is the first one, and then is your class one medical. So class one medical, like I told you, is difficult. But if you can't clear it, then you won't be able to move ahead. So if, for example, if in this group we have some 12th standard students or students who have cleared their 12th, first thing, go for your medicals. That's the most important thing. So if you're good to go, then move on with the other things.
Okay,
But
so there's not an option of reappearing. Like if you're done with it once,
you can reappear. You can definitely reappear, but provided it is something repairable. If it is something that, for example, if someone has color blindness, then of course that person cannot.
right. Yes, if there's certain particularly like the specific eyesight number that you need, all of that is pretty much mentioned.
Eyesight is still, yes, but eyesight is still taken care of. It's not much of a problem, be it cabin crew or pilots. Eyesight, yes, it's okay. In fact, pilots can wear spectacles, cabin crew can wear lenses, so that's not an issue.
All right. Khushi has asked what all is included in the medical test. I'm sure there's a very big list provided by DGCA. So I specify that you go there and look at it, because we start talking about it, then it won't end. And
yes, so this list is available in one of my YouTube videos as well, where I've described specifically spoken about the medical requirements. So she can even have a look at it.
So we would also be, I think, needing your website link and a YouTube.
So specialpersona.com is the website.
I write it.
That's specialpersona.com. And and the YouTube channel is youtube.com/asthagil_mentor.
YouTube/Asthagil.
Yes, _mentor.
Okay.
So there is a series of videos which can help the candidates figure out what are the requirements.
Ghazal, don't worry. We definitely understood your question. So, as ma'am also rightly pointed out, that you don't know people did Google, that's completely okay. Just before
If there is anything else in your mind, you can speak to us, Ghazal. Not a problem.
don't worry. This is not a place where anybody gets judged. We are open to any sort of and every sort of question, so that's completely okay. And yes, just that if there's a stipulated period of time, that's where you do not consume alcohol, and after that you can definitely go ahead and do that. And let's see what other questions we have. Um, would BTEC be beneficial if I want to become a pilot?
Beneficial, see, any qualification becomes beneficial. So I wouldn't say that BTech is bad if you're a pilot and you don't need to do, if you're already into it, might as well complete it. But you don't need to do it as a mandate. So you can start, you can become a pilot at a very early age, like you can become a cabin crew. So you can, if you completed your 12th, go ahead. If you've had PCM, just go straight for flying. You don't have to do BTech to become a pilot.
Right. So we also have a lot of questions revolving around can we apply for foreign airlines in future? There's a specific tenure that we have to complete.
No, you don't. You can straight away apply for foreign airlines. Go straight ahead, apply. There are a lot of airlines coming up with opportunities. In fact, even in this lockdown period, we've had certain airlines which have come up with opportunities for cabin crew candidates, and you just need to meet their basic criteria. Like I spoke about the height and weight and everything. So that has to be there, and of course the advanced criteria as well. And you need to prepare yourself for interviews.
Right.
So it's very important to understand that whatever time is available with you, you utilize most of it in preparing so that you don't get dished at the time of interview.
Right.
So start preparing, utilize this lockdown period to enhance your overall personality, and you should be able to handle the interview very well when it actually comes up.
Right. Mr. Manav Gill is really helping us out. He's also answering the few questions in the chat, and he's the one that we were talking about, who's gone from cabin crew to flying career. So I think one very good question that has also come in, that is there any one of the best schools in abroad that we know of? Flying school?
See, I can't really categorize the flying schools. The one from which my husband did his flying uh, is not operational as of now. And yes, there are many, but I would suggest that go to a place like you can fly from US. There are many interesting reputed schools there. We also have some good schools in Australia, but I would not suggest you to go to Philippines and all these countries where flying schools are not as authentic as the flying schools in US and Australia.
Right, right.
US is a very good option.
Yes, yes. And maybe you've had programs from Indigo and Jet, I guess, which are like very specific to commercial pilot. Like these are the ones that the private
programs.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
think people have asked, and Mr. Gill has also answered that it's not too authentic. So could you just explain everyone here that what are these programs exactly about, and what's the flaw
Okay.
in these?
Okay, so the programs are where the airline says that okay, you want to be a pilot, come prepare for a test, and you pay us this much money. Okay, so there's a huge amount that you pay to the airline, and you sign yes, and you sign a bond with them that you're going to continue flying with them for a few years. So that bond is there, and that money is invested. Now, when you start with the cadet program, you might not be able to clear certain exams that they have. Thus, keeping in mind the dynamics of the industry, the cadet program might be put on hold for some time, and there are certain flaws, like you rightly pointed out. So, cadet programs sometimes make you get stuck into you are just there, and now you don't know what to do because you've invested so much money. So, I suggest that it would be better that you do everything on your own rather than choosing. I can't hear you.
Bhumika, you are on mute.
Okay. Guys, did you just see our technical team guy? He's not the one you can.
Can I put you on mute?
He puts me on mute. Even slight disturbance, You
Is
would
that some
put
personal grudge?
I'm assuming not. I'm hoping not, in fact.
Thank God my husband doesn't have this control. Otherwise, would have been muted for the whole show.
For probably half the lifetime. Ask again, ma'am, what do you say about that? Most of us. Most of us. All right. There are a lot of people are writing who's doing that, who's in the back end. Yes, Bhavya, you're right. Mr. Gill has also specified US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand have good flying schools. Even India has some very good flying schools. As I know, there are IGRUA, this thing, CHIMES. Mr. Gill, are there any other good schools in India besides these? All right, and since we were talking about the bleeding of the industry and we've taken this question up, but
I
what
can't
do
hear you.
you
Like I can hear you, but it's not clear.
think? Just a moment, I'll put my phone. So, what do you think will be the situation after COVID-19? Because I'm sure a lot of people would be concerned about this bit.
Yes. So the best part is that we come under essential services. So the world cannot survive without aviation, and it's going to come back. Yes, it might have some initial glitch, but it will come back, and it's going to uh, do amazing. The kind of growth spot that we are expecting in the aviation industry is amazing, and I'm sure it's going to happen. So that is forecasted, and things will get better.
Right, right. Okay. And somebody in the panel asked, in the audience asked that what are the challenges that you faced in specific, certain challenges that helped you grow or were certain that really took you down. So could you be able to share certain personal experiences of yours?
Yes. See, when I started, like I told you, my initial first step wasn't a challenge. I went for the interview, I got through, and that was amazing. I didn't even know that, okay, what next? So, this small town Chandigarh girl was landed in Mumbai, and that was a big step, one of the biggest steps of my life. So, I went there, I used to cry, I used to be homesick, and I didn't know what was happening. So that was, I think, that initial challenge was that as a teenager you are now associated to the most high profile industry, and you have to accommodate and you have to understand the requirements of this industry. And that's when during my training days I realized that I need to be very very strong as far as my role is concerned, and the kind of like I told you initially, courage required to perform those duties, understanding that there's medical and a lot of other things to be taken care on board. So all of that was a challenge. Secondly, after I adjusted to that environment and I started loving it, I also had the training kakida, so I wanted to venture out training. So I had completed my graduation while flying. So I got the opportunity in the training department. So I applied, and of course, I had to prepare myself very well to actually get into that thing. Because even if you are trying to shift from one department to the other, it gets difficult. So training was something that I had to prove myself that yes, I can handle the team. So training again, where I had to enhance myself. And while I was doing that, my husband decided to fly, and he wanted to fly, as in he wanted to start his commercial pilot training. So that was another difficult stage of our life where it was a big decision to take sabbatical. And thanks to Jet Airways, they gave us leave for 1 year, and he decided to go and he decided to pursue his commercial pilot training. So that was again a difficult time where both of us were trying to venture out something in our careers, and I was also expecting a baby. So what was happening at that time?
Oh,
So
yeah. Too much on
he
plate at one point. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
a lot of things. So he did his flying, and when he came back, we realized that there were not many opportunities in India.
Oh,
Yes, so that was something that shook us because we were expecting the moment he would come back, we would have jobs for pilots. There were ample opportunities when he left for flying, but when he came back, job opportunities were less. And I was also back on my flying and was also into training. So a lot of things, and a mother, so a lot of things happening at my end. So, but Thankfully, we had the job. He continued as a crew. Then he became a trainer himself. So he changed his airline. He got into training. And finally, he became a pilot when the opportunities came back. So we kept moving on. And in spite of the dynamics of the industry, we we decided to keep moving, because if we would have been shattered with all that was happening, we would have never grown to this extent. So you have to be ready to experience all of this if you want to grow in life. That's
Right.
one thing for sure.
And I think that's very, very beautifully coming up in almost every webinar when we talk about how the journey has been for each one of you. Because thankfully, we are so blessed to have all the panel members who are coming from all the top-notch areas, from the best of the fields. And all of them have continuously mentioned this one thing, that persistence is the key, perseverance is the key, consistency
Yes.
is the key. So even if you see in Mrs. Gill's life and Mr. Gill's life, there's so much of ups and downs that they've faced, but they could have easily given up. Yet they are here today because of the fact that they've not stopped, in one place where they thought that okay, that's it. So that's it वाला जहाँ time आ गया हमारे लिए, it gets difficult to reach to the peak. So I think yes, for all of you, because your careers are starting, it's important to understand कि ऐसे time आएगा, बट वहां पे आपको कैसे अपनी स्किल्स, अपना कोपिंग मैकेनिज्म यूज करके उस चीज से निकल जाना इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ द होल थिंग. All right, and Aruhi is asking. I know Aruhi is into a lot into makeup and presentation skills and all of that. So she's asking, is makeup and dressing up, why is it important in this profession? She says it's a silly question. No, but it's not a silly question because it's
No,
a
not at
industry
all.
where you're supposed to be presentable. So yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What do you take? What take do you have on that?
Okay, two things. One, like I told you, it has face value. Okay, so you're associating yourself to an industry where it's important to dress well. You're representing the airline. You're going to be on the flying machines, so you need to be good when it comes to grooming. When you go on a wedding, when you go on a date, when you go to a party, don't you dress well? So it's similar to that. It's like you're having a date with an aircraft every day, because you're going to be absolutely in love with those middle birds. So you have to make sure that you dress well when you go on an aircraft. That's one side of it. Second, if you are once you learn these tricks, and you can probably go for a professional certification also when it comes to grooming. A lot of my colleagues are now actually into grooming as well. So they have their own business ventures where they have started their own grooming sessions where so they've taken it to another professional level. So grooming helps you both ways. One, of course, when you're flying for the airline, and secondly, you can actually use it as a skill later on.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, so irrespective of the fact whether you are in an aviation industry or not, I think communication skills and grooming skills are certain skills which are important for a lot of industries nowadays, especially where you are representing a face value, especially wherever people are involved, especially wherever your speaking skills are needed, or you're into public speaking, mass comm journalism, a lot of fields for that matter would involve this. And I believe special persona is a beautiful platform to go ahead and have these skills. So be it you want to go ahead with aviation or don't want to go ahead with the aviation, still if you wish to learn communication skills, how to crack job interviews, how to go about developing your personality, grooming your personality, I still feel that you should go ahead and look at what all services are being catered by Mrs. Astagil and her venture Special Persona.
One thing
And
that I want to add here is I take pride in talking about girls coming from remote areas where English was a constraint, where grooming was definitely a big constraint, and they are flying for the best airlines. And they are flying with international carriers like Qatar Airways. And when I see them flying today and the kind of grooming and persona that they carry today is amazing. So when you see your students with that kind of success story, it's amazing.
right. So these are certain soft skills which can always be tweaked and turned. So you don't need to worry about the fact that, okay, probably right now I'm lacking in my communication skill. It can always be groomed. I'm lacking in my personality.
Yes.
It can always be groomed. So why did you
Whoever.
get into
Yeah.
this industry specially? Right. And on an average, how much time does it take for one to clear DGCA exam?
Which particular exam are we talking about?
I'm assuming the medical test. Sanya, would you be able to specify which DGC exam are you exactly asking about?
DGC exams are for cabin crew as well.
Okay.
So
Sanya is, I'm assuming, is asking for the commercial flying one because that's what you wanted to know about. All the 5 papers are for commercial flying. Yes, yes.
okay, so that depends on your preparation. You could probably clear the exam in the first attempt. However, you are allowed to give numerous attempts, but you have to make sure that you're well prepared before you go to the exam, because every exam has requires different cognitive skills. So you'll have to make sure that you're so maybe Met is your favorite subject. So maybe you attempt it very well, but navigation is something that you find very difficult. So you'll have to put in extra effort for it. So prepare well. There are tuition centers. There are pilots who are training and who take care of this thing that the candidates are prepared the way they are supposed to be for these exams.
Right. And I think we've covered this, but still, if there's any insight on what actually happens behind the scene, behind the curtains, because all we know is that we just have a specific image, either what we've accustomed, I mean, we've seen ourselves while flying, or we have seen ourselves in the movies or stuff like that. So, what is exact insight, if there's anything that you would want to give to all of us from the industry bit?
Okay, so like I said, Bhumika, once a crew, forever a crew, and and that's important to mention now as well, because behind the curtains is, you generally see a very pleasant face in the cabin taking care of everyone's requirements. You would also find them on their toes, working really hard to make sure that everyone is happy on board. But behind the curtains is someone who is really, really struggling to make sure that all resources are met. And because there are limited resources on an aircraft, everyone's request is taken care of, and you're using your presence of mind, you're situationally aware of the scenario happening around you. Your senses have to be excellent. So you should be able to smell if there is anything wrong happening around you. You should be able to, even on the slightest sound which you're not familiar to, you have to you have to raise an alarm and you have to see why that sound is. So and that's the kind of situational awareness you would require behind the curtains. so so no one usually can imagine the kind of effort it takes to make a cabin crew, and the kind of effort that a crew puts in when they are on board. Because you've always seen that pretty face in the cabin, smiling and remaining very positive all the time. But trust me, what it makes you, your personality very strong and durable.
Right, right. For the lifetime,
For the life.
I'm assuming, right? So
Yes.
I, honestly speaking, I just saw the time and I realized that we've almost covered 1.5 hour.
Oh
I,
wow, that's
I I cannot tell that I did not realize that. Honestly speaking, I did not realize that it's already been 1.5 hours. So I'm sure all of us will need to spare Miss Astha Gill right now, because I'm sure she also has a lot on plate right now. She has 2 kids who must be definitely waiting for her. I don't understand how come they've not entered in the room yet.
yes, I've tied them.
Or quarantine them instead.
yes.
Right. So it was so amazing to have you. For the first time, we could take up all the questions, and the session went very smooth. The kind of insights that you gave, I'm assuming for all of us out there, is definitely very much informative. Please ensure that you all do fill in the form, because the feedback form that is there in the mail, in the even in the chat option, because that will really help us to understand the kind of webinar we should also be coming up with. If there's any improvement that we need to do, we'll do that as well. And I think all of us should collectively definitely thank Mrs. Astha Gill, because it's because of her that we started with the webinar series. I remember I was all excited that would you come on board, would you talk about aviation, we have probably 10 speakers coming in. She said, Bhumika, okay, this is how you're supposed to organize, this is how you plan your calendar, this is how you plan out your events. And of course, the Chinmay Bhaiya, the technical guy, really helped us executing. So I think we should all thank these two people to give us so much support that we are being able to get so much information about the industry from all of them. So thank you
It
so
was
much.
indeed my pleasure, and it
Yeah.
was such a pleasant experience talking to you and to have that kind of lovely audience.
All right. And please do visit Mrs. Astagil's page, the special persona, the YouTube page. I'm sure you'd get a lot of insight from there as well. And a special thank to Mr. Manav Gill as well. He's been answering so many of our questions. So thank you, both of you. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you, and you have a lovely evening, and all the very best to every aviation passionate person out there.
Bye bye. Take care, all of
Bye.
you. All the very best.